Leviticus Chapter 14. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leper on the day of his cleansing, he shall be brought to the priest. And the priest shall go forth outside the camp. Then the priest shall look, and if the infection of leprosy has been healed in the leper, then the priest shall command that 2 living clean birds and cedar wood and scarlet strands and hyssop be taken for the one who is to be cleansed. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be slaughtered in an earthen vessel over running water. As for the living bird, he shall take it and the cedar wood and the scarlet strands and the hyssop, and shall dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was slaughtered over the running water. And he shall sprinkle it on the one who is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times and shall pronounce him clean. Then he shall let the living bird go into the open field. And the one who is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes and shave off all his hair and bathe in water, and he shall be clean. And after that he may come into the camp, but he shall dwell outside his tent 7 days. And on the 7th day he shall shave off all his hair. He shall shave his head and his beard and his eyebrows, even all his hair. Then he shall wash his clothes and bathe his flesh in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 male lambs without blemish and 1 ewe lamb a year old without blemish and 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour for a meal offering mingled with oil and 1 log of oil. And the priest who makes him clean shall set the man to be cleansed and those things before Jehovah at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall take 1 of the male lambs and present it as a trespass offering and the log of oil, and wave them as a wave offering before Jehovah. Then he shall slaughter the male lamb in the place where they slaughter the sin offering and the burnt offering, in the place of the sanctuary, for the trespass offering like the sin offering is the priest's, it is most holy. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one who is to be cleansed, and on the thumb of his right hand and on the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil and pour it into the palm of the priest's left hand. And the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in the palm of his left hand and sprinkle some of the oil with his finger 7 times before Jehovah. And from the rest of the oil that is in the palm of his hand the priest shall put some on the lobe of the right ear of the one who is to be cleansed and some on the thumb of his right hand and some on the big toe of his right foot, upon the blood of the trespass offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the palm of the priest's hand he shall put on the head of the one who is to be cleansed. Then the priest shall make expiation for him before Jehovah. And the priest shall offer the sin offering and make expiation for the one who is to be cleansed because of his uncleanness, and afterward he shall slaughter the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meal offering on the altar. Thus the priest shall make expiation for him, and he shall be clean. But if he is poor and cannot afford so much, then he shall take 1 male lamb for a trespass offering to be waved to make expiation for him, and 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mingled with oil for a meal offering, and a log of oil. And 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, such as he can afford, and the one shall be a sin offering and the other a burnt offering. And on the 8th day he shall bring them for his cleansing to the priest, to the entrance of the tent of meeting, before Jehovah. Then the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them as a wave offering before Jehovah. And he shall slaughter the lamb of the trespass offering. Then the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering and put it on the lobe of the right ear of the one who is to be cleansed and on the thumb of his right hand and on the big toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour some of the oil into the palm of the priest's left hand. And the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in the palm of his left hand 7 times before Jehovah. And the priest shall put some of the oil that is in the palm of his hand on the lobe of the right ear of the one who is to be cleansed and on the thumb of his right hand and on the big toe of his right foot, upon the place of the blood of the trespass offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the palm of the priest's hand he shall put on the head of the one who is to be cleansed, to make expiation for him before Jehovah. And he shall offer 1 of the turtle doves or young pigeons, such as he can afford. Even such as he can afford, 1 for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, with the meal offering, and the priest shall make expiation for the one who is to be cleansed before Jehovah. This is the law for the one in whom there is the infection of leprosy, who cannot afford what is prescribed for his cleansing. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, When you come into the land of Canaan, which I give you for a possession, and I put the infection of leprosy in a house in the land of your possession. Then he to whom the house belongs shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seems to me that there is something like an infection in the house. And the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest goes in to look at the infection, so that everything which is in the house does not become unclean, and afterward the priest shall go in to look at the house. And he shall look at the infection, and if the infection is on the walls of the house with greenish or reddish depressions, and its appearance is deeper than the surface of the wall, then the priest shall come out of the house to the entrance of the house and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall return on the 7th day and inspect it. And if the infection has spread in the walls of the house, then the priest shall command that they take out the stones on which the infection is and throw them away outside the city into an unclean place. And he shall have the house scraped inside all around, and they shall dunk the plaster that they scrape off outside the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones, and he shall take other plaster and replaster the house. And if the infection returns and breaks out in the house after he has taken out the stones and after he has scraped the house and after it has been replastered, then the priest shall come in and look, and if the infection has spread in the house, it is a malignant leprosy in the house, it is unclean. And he shall break down the house, its stones and its timber and all the plaster of the house, and he shall bring them outside the city into an unclean place. Moreover, whoever goes into the house all the while that it is shut up shall be unclean until the evening. And whoever lies down in the house shall wash his clothes, and whoever eats in the house shall wash his clothes. But if on the other hand the priest comes in and looks, and if the infection has not spread in the house after the house has been replastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean because the infection has been healed. And he shall take 2 birds and cedar wood and scarlet strands and hyssop to purify the house. And he shall slaughter one of the birds in an earthen vessel over running water. And he shall take the cedar wood and the hyssop and the scarlet strands and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the bird that was slaughtered and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. And he shall purify the house with the blood of the bird and with the running water and with the living bird and with the cedar wood and with the hyssop and with the scarlet strands. And he shall let the living bird go, outside the city into the open field. So he shall make expiation for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for any kind of infection of leprosy and for a scale. And for the leprosy of a garment and for a house. And for a swelling and for an eruption and for a bright spot. To teach when it is unclean and when it is clean. This is the law of leprosy. Leviticus Chapter 15. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, When any man has a discharge from his body, his discharge is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness of his discharge, whether there is a discharge from his body, or the discharge is blocked in his body, it is his uncleanness. Every bed on which he who has the discharge lies shall be unclean, and everything on which he sits shall be unclean. And whoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever sits on anything on which he who has the discharge sat shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches the flesh of the one who has the discharge shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And if the one who has the discharge spits on someone who is clean, then he who has been spat on shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And every saddle on which the one who has the discharge rides shall be unclean. And whoever touches anything that was under him shall be unclean until the evening, and whoever carries those things shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And whomever the one who has the discharge touches without having rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And the earthen vessel that the one who has the discharge touches shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when one who has the discharge is cleansed of his discharge, then he shall count 7 days for himself for his cleansing, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe his body in running water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take for himself 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and come before Jehovah at the entrance of the tent of meeting and give them to the priest. And the priest shall offer them, one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make expiation for him before Jehovah for his discharge. And if any man's seed of copulation goes out from him, then he shall bathe his entire body in water and be unclean until the evening. And any garment and any article made of skin on which the seed of copulation comes shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening. If there is a woman with whom a man lies and there is a discharge of seed of copulation, both of them shall bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And if a woman has a discharge, and her discharge in her body is blood, she shall be in her impurity 7 days, and whoever touches her shall be unclean until the evening. And everything that she lies on in her impurity shall be unclean, everything also that she sits on shall be unclean. And whoever touches her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And whoever touches anything that she sits on shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. And if it is on the bed or on anything on which she sits, when anyone touches it, he shall be unclean until the evening. And if any man actually lies with her and her impurity comes on him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and every bed on which he lies shall be unclean. And if a woman has a discharge of her blood for many days not at the time of her impurity, or if she has a discharge beyond the time of her impurity, during all the days of the discharge of her uncleanness she shall be as if in the days of her impurity, she is unclean. Any bed on which she lies during all the days of her discharge shall be to her like the bed of her impurity, and everything on which she sits shall be unclean, as in the uncleanness of her impurity. And whoever touches those things shall be unclean, and he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean until the evening. But if she is cleansed of her discharge, then she shall count 7 days for herself, and afterward she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take for herself 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons and bring them to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And the priest shall offer one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make expiation for her before Jehovah for the discharge of her uncleanness. Thus you shall separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, so that they do not die in their uncleanness by their defiling my tabernacle that is in the midst of them. This is the law for the one who has a discharge and for the one whose seed of copulation goes out from him and becomes unclean by it. And for the one who is sick with her impurity, and for anyone who has a discharge, male or female, and for a man who lies with a woman who is unclean.